Don't be naive in thinking that you're the only person who's insecure. So one of you sent me 14 things to improve your dating prospects today. You wanted to get my personal opinion on them. If I would change these, what I would add, and if I would throw any of these away for being just outright terrible. So let's jump into things straight away. Number one, drop filters when interacting with people. Be honest without being offensive. I think this is fairly amenable. I know that the reality of actually practicing this is not as easy as theoretically perceived. When you meet somebody new, when you're meeting somebody that you're attracted to, you will always withhold or fluff up information that makes you perceived to be attractive in her eyes, or not be as honest with an individual if they perhaps aren't your type. Splitting the difference with that would be honest with individuals without being offensive, especially if you're not romantically interested in that individual. I think nowadays we live in a culture where people are, you hear this term ghosting a lot. People just ghost other people. They're not upfront and honest with people because typically maybe they want to hook up with somebody. They don't want to commit. Perhaps they got in too far and they realize that they're just talking to this person because they're afraid to be lonely. These individuals are hellish individuals and will not prosper in the end. So, good piece of advice, easier said than done. Realize that the only place where you can't meet anyone new is in your apartment or in your flat. Yeah, completely correct. If you find yourself with minimal dating prospects, then you need to look about the environments that you are in a lot of the time. If you spend most of your time at work and at home, the likelihood is you're not going to have many dating prospects. I really encourage, I think a happy medium with this is doing something physical that you haven't done before. Gyms for me typically aren't the settings where I would like to advocate trying to find dating prospects. It would be more activities related. I've said multiple times, I go bouldering now and again. Many dating prospects when you go bouldering. This is indoor climbing, right? Fun activity. It's very easy to engage somebody in conversation. You're mutually doing something together. You can help each other out. You can start to do your initial kind of screening and disqualifying process, I suppose you can call it that, in terms of finding out if they have the same morals, values, and virtues as you. If you have other interests beyond the activity that you're engaging in. And I'd be really interested to hear your personal opinions of activities that are good for these kinds of things. I recently went to a social evening where we were playing shuffleboard, which is kind of it's kind of like curling, but more in a kind of like bar-like setting. And that was another interesting environment where you're playing games, it's light, it's playful, it's whimsical. Starting up conversations with strangers is fairly easy and encouraged in those kinds of environments. I think you really want to find places that encourage sociability instead of unsociability. I don't think necessarily gyms. I don't think necessarily your flat. I don't think necessarily work are those environments for that outcome. Number 3, the first interaction with a stranger won't be perfect. Do it anyway. Yeah, great piece of advice. I think I have deluded myself in the past by thinking that you need to say the perfect thing if you're approaching somebody. It's not true. Just try and come up with something fun to say, find a mutual point of conversation. And here's something to take home is don't be naive in thinking that you're the only person who's insecure, right? Meaning if you're approached by some random person, I've been approached by random people before, I get a little bit nervous and I don't know what to say. If somebody has come up to me, a random person in the gym or, where I'm out doing my shopping, whatever, I'm kind of like, oh, this person's quite forward, quite brazen, quite confident. I'm a little bit nervous as well. So don't be deluded into thinking that you're the only person that feels this way. And when you come to fully acknowledge and accept that idea, it makes all the interactions a lot easier. Uninstall Instagram for 60 days. I think the point being here is Instagram is this ultimate comparison tool, and you're always going to be feeling insecure when you're comparing yourself to other people. So do without it. And that 60-day detox can be very, very good. I don't have it on my phone. I only have it on my desktop. I only use it for my business. Quit pornography. It's debilitating. It makes you have a poor relationship with women. It makes you see them as objects. And, there's a lot more where that came from. Now, this is something that I don't necessarily agree with, this next one. Don't judge people by their appearance. They'll do the same with you. Now, I think the sentiment behind this is from a compassionate angle, meaning appearance can't tell you about somebody's character. I don't think that's necessarily true. This follows the quip, don't judge a book by its cover. The cover of the book has information, and that information is going to be valuable in some ways. Meaning, I don't think necessarily you should judge people entirely by their appearance, but it would be naive to not do that. If you are approaching a girl and she's wearing Gucci and Prada and Fendi and Balenciaga, do you believe that girl is going to be more than likely superficial or not superficial? The answer is the former. If you see a girl and she's always dressed quite scantily, let's say, a lot of skin every single time you see this individual, there is a very compelling argument to be made that she is advertising sexual availability. Whether she believes she's doing that or not, don't be naive. Take a cold shower every day. I can get by that. I don't do cold showers personally. I do cold dips in the ocean. Much better, much easier as well. Fully immerse yourself instead of the feels like a machine gun, those water droplets on the skin in the shower. Drop a glass on the floor intentionally once per week. Do it anyway. I think this point, or the previous point, by taking a cold shower, is actually training for this point here, meaning take action irrespective of the perceived consequences. When I'm doing cold exposure, I don't want to get in the ocean. It's getting cold now. It's getting very, very cold here on the south coast of the UK. Do you think when I'm there at the edge of the ocean and I'm looking and there's some ice on the sand, I'm going to enjoy this? No. But I do it anyway. Because I know it's going to allow me to grow in the areas of my willpower. And there's going to be crossover with you if you want to do cold exposure, cold approach, continuity there, in training that muscle, in training your conviction. Emphasize your strengths over your weaknesses, starting with yourself. I also think play to your strengths and to your weaknesses. Meaning if you don't like the idea of cold approach, maybe you need to instigate more social situations with your group of friends and extended group of friends to try and find mutual connections within that. It's always better to double down on what you're already doing well. Recognize that what you need to achieve your goals is already within you. Develop it. So I suppose this is similar to the latter point. If you're funny, double down on being funny. If you're charismatic, double down on being charismatic. If you're a good footballer or a good sports person, maybe do your first date when you're doing something that you're really good at. Play to your strengths. Transform your negative inner voice into a supportive, positive one. I like it. I think easier said than done is my initial reflex to this. You have to do some real deep practical steps with this. You have to do breath work. You have to do journaling. You have to do a lot of introspective exercises to get underneath this and erase this completely. But once you have your inner voice working on your side, it's one of the most powerful things that you can have. That's a real asset. Shift your focus from the past to the present. I like to say if you're in the past, you're in depression. If you're in the future, you're in anxiety. The only real thing in your life is the moment right now. If you're talking to somebody, stop trying to think about the next thing to say. Just be in the conversation, right? Look at the person. What are they wearing? Do you like, I like your jacket. Oh, nice shoes. I really like your shoes. Oh, you just said this about you work here. What's it like to work there? Do you enjoy it? Do you want to, a lot of people overthink sociability, social interactions, especially with women. Just stay in the moment. Just stay with the conversation. What can you see? What can you hear? Where are you? You've got so much information coming at you. You guys are kind of circumventing all of that and going to your next line. This is my next line I'm going to say. Just stay with it. Just stay there. Go with the flow. And if you have problems with that, anchor yourself with your breath. Breath is the anchor to the present moment. Take responsibility for your poor results up to now. Yeah. I would call this systems and goals, meaning if you're not getting the goal that you want, you need to change your procedure, change your system, change your steps. If your objective is to get a girlfriend and you've been actively trying to get a girlfriend for the last 6 months to no avail, then I would say your systems are not working. Look at your systems. Well, how are you getting your leads? Let's do this very, very correctly. Your leads, your dating prospects. Well, I'm doing it all online. Well, then online dating isn't working for you. You need to try something different. You need to try to go to those social circumstances that I've told you before. You need to try a cold approach. You need to switch things up. You need to change your environment. If you're not getting the outcome you want, it's because your systems are ineffective. Very, very simply put. Seek an experienced external perspective on what you're doing right now and what you're doing wrong. It's always good to get a second opinion. Sometimes we can become very, very obtuse and narrow-minded in our approach and lack creativity. So it's good to have a supportive social circle around you to bounce ideas off, saying, look, I'm not getting these results because of this reason. Have you ever had this problem? What would you do differently? This is why it's so valuable to have friends and have a community of brothers, even online. And you can ask me, you can ask the people who follow this channel, who are part of my Patreon, where we're having really in-depth conversations about some of the day-to-day things that are challenging, dating prospects, where we can get outside opinions to develop new systems that allow us to get the results that we fundamentally want. So by and large, I think this list is very, very valuable. I think there are some nuance in some points that I've mentioned, but application is the most important thing. And those aren't theories, those are facts. Speak soon.